I know you all want an update, and all of the family has been called in and really speaking very straightforward. It's not really a matter or a question of if, but when.
What's going on, everyone? We're back with a major update on a story that's been unfolding for 2 weeks now. The hospitalization of 90-year-old televangelist Jimmy Swaggart. And folks, the latest news is heartbreaking. After nearly 2 weeks in intensive care following his cardiac arrest, his son Donnie has told their congregation they are now facing the end, and the family is gathering to make very difficult and hard decisions. Let me catch you up on what's happened since that initial Father's Day announcement. For nearly 2 weeks, Jimmy Swaggart Ministries has been releasing regular updates, and frankly, they paint a picture of a family watching their patriarch slowly slip away. June 16th, 17th, 18th, 22nd, 25th. Update after update with the same haunting refrain. No change in his condition, holding pattern, no significant change. Each statement asking for continued prayers while the reality becomes increasingly clear. But it was this past Wednesday's service that hit different. Donnie Swaggart stood before his congregation and said words that must have been devastating to speak. "We are facing the end." He announced that the family is calling all the grandchildren and extended family members to Baton Rouge for what he called a family meeting to discuss very difficult and hard decisions. Think about what that means. This is a son having to gather his family to essentially plan for his father's final moments. The next couple of days, he said, will be hard days with the things that we have to discuss.
Really, the bottom line is this: the future of Dad's existence is in the hands of Mother. Some medical decisions have to be made. Now, the Lord can step in at any second and change all of that. But we're talking in the natural, we're talking science, we're talking the way things are, and I told you we would be transparent. And I think the way I would sum this up is that we are coming to a conclusion. Don't know when that conclusion will be, because no one can predict when you remove medical restraints how long life will stay. We don't know that answer. But obviously, Mother is in a very, very difficult situation. And so we are, as a family, praying that she would get the mind of the Lord, because it is her decision and hers alone. And so that's where we are. It's not a great word, but I'm not gonna get over television and rah 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 when there's nothing to rah 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 about. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you exactly where we are, and so the next few days will be the most critical days since this happened on Sunday a week ago. So we would ask you to keep us in prayer. We need the mind of the Lord. Mother needs the mind of the Lord, and she needs the strength of the Lord. She is under tremendous, tremendous pressure, as you can imagine, because we know what the human side wants. But there reaches a point in time of, there's just, you can keep somebody alive, but they're not really alive, to be honest. That's just the way I look at it. And so, so we ask that you continue to keep us in prayer. And as I said, we'll be giving you updates when we have something to update you with. So just keep listening to, or keep referring to our social media feeds. That's the fastest way to get word out. And so, but thank you for your prayers. We appreciate it more than you'll ever know. And just keep praying.
What's particularly striking about these updates is how they reveal the human side of this story. The family specifically asked for prayers for Frances Swaggart, Jimmy's wife of decades, saying these past 2 days have been especially difficult for her, and that she needs a touch from the Lord as well as His grace and strength. Imagine being 90 years old yourself and watching your husband of over 60 years lying unconscious in an ICU bed. The updates repeatedly ask people to respect the family's privacy and stop calling the ministry for information, which tells you they're being inundated with calls from supporters desperate for any good news. On Sunday, 29th of June, Donnie Swaggart gave a much-needed update to the congregation at Family Worship Church, and
I know you all want an update, and all of the family has been called in, and really speaking very straightforward. It's not really a matter or a question of if, but when. And so we are, of a family, have gathered, and we want Dad's, it's just what the Lord desires. We want his last days to be comfortable. We want him to be surrounded by his family. Matthew and I went to the hospital before we came to church this morning. Jennifer and Joanna and Mother and her sister Peggy, they're there. We want you to continue to lift up Mother in prayer. You can imagine how difficult this time is, and she only leaves the hospital to go home and clean up a little bit and get a quick bite to eat, and then she's back in the hospital. And so we want you to continue to pray for the family and to pray for Mother that she'll have strength. And as I said, it's sad, but at the same time, everyone's race is going to be finished one day. But when you know where the finish line is, and you know who's waiting at the end of that finish line to say, "Welcome home, thou good and faithful servant." And I know I'm his son, but I say this, and I am right. There has been no greater example of a good and faithful servant than my father. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. A man who lived his life for the cause of Christ. Mother said, she said just a couple of days before, thank you, before everything happened, she said he literally woke her up in the middle of the night and he was preaching. And she said the next night, the same thing. He woke her up. And she said, I just laid there listening to him as he was preaching the gospel. Because that's who he is, a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So thank you.
throughout these 2 weeks, you can see a family wrestling with faith and reality. Each update continues to ask for prayers for a miracle, while simultaneously preparing supporters for what seems inevitable. Donnie said they're still believing God could intervene, but they're also facing the end. This tension, hoping for divine intervention while preparing for death, captures something profound about faith in crisis. The Swaggart family has built their entire lives around the belief that God performs miracles, yet they're also dealing with the very human reality of watching a beloved patriarch fade away. As the Swaggart family gathers for what may be their final decisions about Jimmy's care, this moment represents the closing of a remarkable and controversial chapter in American religious history. Love him or hate him, you can't deny Swaggart's impact. He pioneered global televangelism, influenced countless people's faith journeys, survived massive scandals, and rebuilt from the ashes, only to face the one opponent that defeats everyone, time. For his supporters gathering in prayer vigils and sending messages of support, he's a man of God who made mistakes but continued serving despite persecution. For his critics, he represents everything wrong with celebrity Christianity and the dangers of unchecked religious authority. As Jimmy Swaggart potentially enters his final days, and as his family prepares to make decisions no family wants to make, both his supporters and detractors would probably agree on this. His story, the triumphs and the failures, the massive crowds and the devastating scandals, the tears of repentance and the defiant comebacks, and now this quiet ending in an ICU bed, tells us something profound about human nature, about faith, about forgiveness, and about mortality itself. Whether you see him as a fallen angel or a redeemed sinner, the evangelical world is saying what may be its final prayers for a man who once commanded global audiences and may now be facing his ultimate moment of truth. The next few days will likely bring the conclusion to one of the most complex stories in modern evangelical history. We'll continue monitoring this developing story and will update you as the family makes their decisions. Let me know in the comments what you think Swaggart's ultimate legacy should be. As always, stay informed, stay critical, and we'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe if this kind of in-depth coverage is valuable to you, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our final coverage as this story reaches its conclusion.